Hi folks, welcome back to Gary's Practical Workshop. I really enjoyed the video I did this week. I really enjoyed it. It's funny because sometimes you leave things alone and it's not until you start doing them you really miss what you were doing. And I played that video back to do with the block on this old chap here that we're working on. For those of you who are new, this is phase 3, the last phase, and the first part of that phase was the block. It's in the previous video. Please go back and have a look. I'm sure you'll find it interesting. At least I hope you do. Yeah, it's just really strange. I forgot until I played that video back that I edited over the weekend, and it's now Friday. I did that. It's now Sunday. It's a lovely day. I tell you what, it's a good day for taking the bikes out actually. But we've got to crack on with this. Today I just thought I'd go through something which you may have thought was missing on the video which I'd done yesterday or the day before, and that was the cylinder head, because the cylinder head was already off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring you over to the bench. I've rigged up another camera position actually, but I don't know where it's going to work. Let's just move some of this junk. I might take you off the pod from time to time, but yeah, I'm going to go through the cylinder head because the cylinder head was taken off earlier. Obviously, as you can see from the previous video. I'm going to go and get the head. Here's the cylinder head. Just going to put it on blocks a minute. There you go. The cams, oh, there's a bucket there that's come loose. That must have been me taking that out because they don't fall out on their own. Let me just tap that. Yeah. This is the head from that engine. I probably should have filmed this coming off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through it. I'm going to take all the valves out and the buckets and the shims. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the head. And I'm going to take the shells out. The shells are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Just going to pop you out the... I did warn you. My shells there. These shells I put in probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I did a semi-head overhaul because it was a bit rattly. Couldn't do nothing with the cam chain. I think that was probably stretched a little bit, but it's not a major issue. I did the shells 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. I did the shims. The shims were done at the same time, and I wouldn't say it made a great difference on performance, but what it did do, it took away the ticking sounds. And when the engine's idling, when it's going along the road, you didn't obviously, you know, to hear the ticking sound you'd have to have bloody good ears. Anyway, I'm going to go through the head. The head's not bad. Let me just turn it over so I'm going to put you back on the stand. Turn it over. Now the pots, the buckets will probably fall out, but it's not a problem. In fact, I'm going to take them out now. Just bear with me a moment, chaps. I'm going to go and get the sucker to pull them out. Yeah, the sucker, couldn't find it for a while, but I think I've got it. Sometimes you can use these, a magnetic tool, which very useful for getting trap bolts. As you can see, it extends quite well. That may pull it out, yeah. So let's mark these. So that's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, 7 and 8. In actual fact, that's probably better than the sucker. for valve lapping. I'm sure you guys have seen them before. Let me just wipe my hands a sec. So the tedious job now is to taking the valves out. But what I am going to do, I can't do it with the valves in, but yeah, if you look at the previous videos, I do say that this is stripped down repair to Kawasaki limits and fits. Well, I want to try and do as much of that as I can to give you guys an idea. One of the things which I do tend to do, if we look over here, we've got the camshafts and the cam caps that go on like so. Now obviously they're not going to go straight down because they're on dowels, and I'd have to do a bit of jiggery pokery to get them in. Oh, that one's going down. There we go, that one's in. So what we would do is we'd put that camshaft in there with the caps on. Obviously the valves need to come out for the cam lobes to turn, because you don't want the valves getting in the way. And then I'd put some plastic gauge on these. Now I don't know what the limits and fits are. I haven't got the Kawasaki manual, it's in the house, but we'll look at the limits and fits of the cams and the shells. Now I'm pretty sure, because those shells were put in probably about 2 years ago, and bear in mind this engine was only going out, well, the bike was only going out on sunny days. Excuse me. Yeah, it was only going out on sunny days, so the wear on this is going to be probably minimal. But having said that, we don't know how the bike was treated and how many miles it was done, or it has done, on this engine before I got it. So we need to check the limits and fits. This is something I'm going to do probably in a later video. I might start that probably in the week. I don't know, see how it goes on that one. I've decided, guys, that today, of all days, it might be a good idea to take the valves out anyway. So we need to get our valve compressor tool out. Taking it off the wood. Got to be careful here because you don't want the head coming off the edge, but we need to get onto that valve, take it out, which is going to be number 1, inlet. There he goes. So what I'm going to do now is fish them out with a screwdriver, then use that little magnet tool to get the collets. Now you guys probably can't see this very well, but it doesn't matter. There's 1. Let's get his little brother. 2. For those of you who haven't seen it, that's all that holds the valve in. If you look carefully, it's got a little raised bit which bites on the top of the valve stem. Can you see that? There you go. So now take the tension off the valve. And would you believe that's actually jammed in there? I don't believe that. Must be exactly the same size. How unusual is that? The valve keeper cap is jammed inside that tool. Let's tap it out. That's identical size. That's incredible, that. Actually fits in there. Use a smaller one. This one will probably lend itself better. So let's take this one out. The springs. The base plate, which stops it from wearing into the head. We can't take that base plate out because we've got to take the valve guide off, the seal. I'm going to leave that in for the time being. It won't hurt for the time being. So let's keep all that together. Inner spring, outer spring. Top cap there that holds it all together. So that's number one, and it's collets, and we'll put that on a marker on the cardboard. Slightly different one, but this will be alright. Let's do number 2 inlet. I'm feeling now for that valve, but I've got no idea where it is. There's a dimple in the middle of the valve head, so provided you get it in the middle of that, it should be fine. Right chaps, I've gone through the rest of them. I've just got these two to do. As you can see, I've put a lead weight on here because if it does come a little bit close to being off the bench, it's like an insurance policy. It just gives you that bit of counterbalance. So we'll just whip these two out. That's the two collets out, and just release the tension. I should have used this particular narrow one in the beginning, but I didn't. And that's why it got stuck in the seat there. But this next size down has worked perfectly. Outer spring, cap, inner spring, and push the valve down. I always try and put mine on top of each other like that, so that the whole unit, springs, cap, valve, collets, all stays together. When you think about it, it's the logical way, because ideally you want each valve to go back into its respective guide. Although having said that, I suppose you probably would get away with it if you didn't, but it's just the way I like to work. Right, last one. So we'll find the dimple in the valve. There it is. Spin this little chap down. and compress. Oh, he compressed very easily. Some of them I've had to tap with a hammer to get them to release on the collet. There's one. Two. This is a tool I use. It's brilliant. It really is brilliant. It makes light work of getting those collets out. I mean, you can free them off when you compress the valve, but to grab them, you've been there for a month Sundays, as I say, if you had to do it with long nose pliers. Outer spring, inner spring, and the valve. There's the valve unit again with the respective collets. And we'll put all that on its marker. I'll show you the marker and I'm going to do it later. In fact, I'll show you now because they're all out. It makes sense to do it. I'll just take you off the pod. Now, some people put holes in cardboard and they pin the valves in the cardboard, which is a brilliant idea because then you know that it's, you know, subject to being knocked. It's going to be pretty stable. But in this corner of the garage, it's pretty safe. Collets, each unit, as you see, and this is as we sit on the bike. So exhaust 1, 2, 3, 4. Inlet 1, 2, 3, 4. You can always tell because the inlets are slightly larger in diameter compared to the outlets, obviously to get more gas in. Right, let's put you back on the pod. Take our counterbalance weight off. Let's tidy up the bench. Going to put this back a minute, chaps. Right, so now all the valves are out, we can then look at working on the head with the cams. And this is just a quick run through. Right, chaps, as you can see, I've turned the cylinder head round because it was facing the wrong way, and the danger was that I'd have probably put the cams into the wrong sides or the wrong areas where they should be. So there's now the right way round, inlet, outlet. So let's look at what we got here. I've oiled these up a little bit. I'm just going to put a drop more on, just to give it a bit of lube. We'll clean the cam off. Make sure there's no debris in the bearing area. And then lower it in. We're just going to be working on the outlet cam for the time being. That's floating on the oil, which is nice. Now, the caps. I'm going to take you off the pod a second. They're numbered 3, 4, 1 and 2. They're also numbered on the top of the caps. I'm sure you guys have seen this before, but just to let you know, make sure they go on the right ones because it is all machined in the factory right way through. So the caps are machined with the head, and that's the way it must go back together. Otherwise you do risk some serious problems with the camshaft, even damage to the head and the caps. So let's take cap number 1, which is there. The dowels are in place. And just put him on. I'm going to just tap slightly. And normally they go in pretty well, but sometimes there's a reason for that. Well, it should be alright. Let's line that up a bit better. There it goes. It's just a question of getting it lined up on the dowels. When he's down home, the sound changes. It's little taps, just gently little taps. So now, see if we can get number 2 in. That one's home. Sorry if I get in the way of the shot, but sometimes you don't have a lot of choice. If any of these screws, bolts are tight when you do this, back it off and try again. Make sure you're not cross-threading. It's very well thought out, the way this has been designed, even when you go back in time to the 70s, because some of it is foolproof. The way these are being machined and the way the cams are designed, I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Just tighten them up by hand. I'm going to torque these up in a minute, and we'll torque them diagonally. See what that noise is? End flow. You're going to get that. Well, that feels really good. Now if I push it that way and try and pull up and down, there is no clicking. Let's see if you can see that. There's no clicking at all. But it's not torqued down yet. What I was saying about cleverly designed, this is the inlet cam, pretty obvious, but they put flanges on there. And that stops the cam from doing too much of that. There's flanges here as well on number 1. So you get a little bit of end play, which is it's a necessity really to find its own position when the chain's pulling the sprocket round, I guess. But that's really where I think the skill comes in, and the design is so good, well thought out, which is typical Kawasaki. Bear in mind it's 50 years ago. Right, let's torque that down. So I'm going to set this at, where was it? We're going to set this at 102 kilograms per meter. It's a very light setting actually. .2 kilograms per meter. 1.2452468. That's about it there. I'm just tightening up a little. I'll do a double run. Well, that's it. This is torqued down. Now, still a little bit of end float, which you'd expect. But there was no movement up and down before I torqued them. So now it's just a little bit of friction, which you'd expect. It's not a lot. Don't forget these are being oil fed all the time from here, little oil ways. But that one feels beautiful. End float, yeah, no up and down movement. Let's now do the inlet cam. Just clean it off. Get all the muck off of that. Not that there's any on there, but just to make sure. Just oiling up the shells. It's the right way round. The flanges are on this side, same as this one. You can always tell which cam because this is your rev counter takeoff for your worm gear, which is mounted there. That one's gone down very nicely. And so is that one. Now, I see it a lot on some of the YouTube channels. I'm always very wary and I cringe when I see this. I have said before, these things are good. There is no doubt. But I always try and slacken these off by hand because being so old, you get a better feel for it. And if the bolt's going to snap, okay, you could say, well, there's not a lot you can do about it. But it's the feeling of the tension by hand, and sometimes if you work it backwards and forwards with the wrench, you'd be surprised you can sometimes free it off, especially if you heat it up and put a bit of penetrating oil in the thread. With this, it's too late, it snapped. So I never really use these for undoing bolts from being tightened up. I always try and loosen them off with my favourite, which is one of these, a wrench. It's just my thoughts, guys. I mean, you've probably got your own ideas, but that's what I try and do. Going back to that, I never use that machine, that wrench, electronic drill cum wrench. Even though it's got a torque setting on it, I never use it to do screws or bolts up. You might start it off, and if it's a long bolt, take it a fair way in. But to actually tighten it, I always use either a wrench or a screwdriver. Better feel. So that's hand tight. So is that one. So now we can bit more. Now we can torque them down. There it is. Right, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Gonna do a double run. Right, here we go. Those two there are done, so now we're going to do these two. Two, three, 4, 5, 6. So they're all done now. Let's see what we got there. Now, I did think about doing this. These shell bearings are there, but because they were only done about 3 or 4 years ago, no, hang on a minute, 5 years ago actually, but the bike only gets ridden on high days and holidays through the summer. It hasn't had a lot of wear. So I'm not going to do the plaster gauge, and the main reason for doing it is because of the amount of time it's been running, and I can't feel on this one, there's no play whatsoever, and on this one there's end float, but again there's no play. What you hear is end float, and that can be misrepresented with up and down movement. So I'll keep it taut this way. Nothing. That feels really good. Really good. So there we are. So that gives you an idea of the way I do it on the head. Obviously when you put it all together with the valves and the shims and the buckets in, there's going to be tension on these, and there is a sequence for doing it, which is different to the way I've done it here. This is just to get these torqued down to see what the cam wear is. Now we can undo these now and look at the cams, the pace, take a measurement of where the bearings, where the shells sit on the camshaft itself, just to see if the cam has worn. I don't think it has, but we'll see. So let's undo it all. If this gets a bit boring, chaps, you can whiz on to the next bit. They're all loose. I suppose you could use a wrench for undoing them when you get them loosened off, but it's personal choice. Nearly there. And then we've got to tap them off in a minute. Make sure they're all free. That's number 4. Number 3. Get the bolts out of that one. Sometimes the dowels get stuck. There you go. That's number 2. Now we've got a couple of shell bearings that have stuck. It's not a big deal. We just push them in. That one's not gone in too well. Whoop. Just get them a bit more level. Just take the bolts out. Click. There you go. Put the bolts back in. And we got a shell stuck on number 2 as well. That's number 1. Oh, there he is. That's better. Put the... There we go. Camshafts. Oil tension's holding that one. Oil tension's holding that one. So we'll put them with their respective caps so we know what's what. Now, obviously, as the cam lobe goes round, the point of wear really is going to be here, but that's on the lobe. The camshaft itself, I don't know where I've got that here. It's probably here somewhere. Yes, here. The bushing clearance. You can use plastic gauge on this according to this, which is a good thing, but I can't feel any play in there, so I'm quite content with that. But if you wanted to, then by all means you can. Let's look at that's the limit. It doesn't actually tell you. Oh, here it is, camshaft diameter. The limit is 24.420 millimeters. Where's my vernier gauge? Ideally it would be nice to have a micrometer, but I haven't got a micrometer which will give me that measurement. This will give me reasonable accuracy. It's set at 0. So the diameter 24.467. And this is on, not the lobe, this is where it bears in the shells or underneath the caps. That's 24.48 is the limit, and that is 24.42. So it looks as if this camshaft might be on its limits. .42. No, I got that wrong. It's 24. This one's 24.46, which is what it started as. Where it starts at 467, 24.467 to 24.48. So that's pretty damn good. Let's go back and check that other one again. Much the same. Much the same. 24.47, which is good. Let's check the other end. Well, that's good as well. 24.48. That's good. That's the standard. So there's no wear on these cams at all, which does not surprise me really. Superb. Superb. So that one's okay. Let's try the outlet cam. That might be a different story because it gets hot. No. 646, which is brilliant. 24.42 is the limit. This is 46, so I'd say we're okay. No, it's 24.246. Yeah, 6. Let's have a look at another lobe. Not a lobe. Again, 24.246. This is very good. Now, before a lot of you guys say, "Oh, you should be using a micrometer," you're absolutely right. But this is just to give me a rough idea, and it's all coming out good. That's 4.6 as well. And so is that one. That's very pleasing. Very pleasing. The lobes, let's look at the lobes. This is the inlet cam on the far number 4 cylinder. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Let's see what that is. And this is the height of the lobe. The service limit is 36.16 millimeter. This is the this is the exhaust, which is, I'll read that again. The exhaust is 1.4039 of an inch, 35.66 millimeters. So let's see if we can see what we can do there. This is intake, 36.16 millimeters. 36.1 intake. The standard is 36.26 to 36.34, and that is at its highest point is 36.36. Where is it? 36.32. That's good. 36.32, which means it's 0.002 below its wear limit. Well, hope you're not all bored stiff, because it is a bit tedious measuring all that. But it's good to know. It is good to know what the wear is. And obviously that makes me feel that the bike, or the engine, when it's done, will be that much better. And hopefully won't cause any problems. So we know the cams are okay, and I've gone through the way we've seated them in there. We've checked the wear. I could use plastic gauge, but to be honest with you, the amount of wear that's there, I mean, if we look at the shims, let me take you off the pod. If we look at the buckets, not the buckets, the shims, you can see there's a little bit of wear there, and there's a bit of wear on that side. But as I said, these shims, and number 2's hardly touched. these shims were, that one's worn a little bit, and so is that one, but you're going to get there where it's not gone down to the phosphorus bronze, which is good. And this is even better. 5 and 6 is even better. 7 and 8, little bit of wear there, but nothing major at all. So going by that, folks, I would say we're on a winner. Anyway, I'm going to wrap that up now. That's it, folks. It's getting cold out here. I'm very pleased with that, considering, as I said, the bike's 50 years of age. That's pretty good. But it doesn't surprise me, because when it was made, they were so hot on getting it right, because it was, I think, probably the flagship of Kawasaki. So that's done. I'm going to leave it there. If you like what you see, as I said last time, you know the drill. Click, subscribe, hit the like button, all the rest of it. And I'll be back later, and what I'm going to do there is this. We'll put all that to one side. Let me just take you off the pod. We're going to split that little boy. There's a bit I've got to do before we split it. I've got to prepare it. Take this off, kickstart housing. There's nuts, bolts on this side, all around here, and on the chain guard. All that's got to come off, and then we'll see if we can get that crank split and see what the gearbox, and let's just see how much muck is in the gearbox, because I guarantee there's going to be quite a bit. Now, for those of you that remembered last time, do you remember I pointed to this rust? Don't think you can see it there very well. Let me spin it round. Look at that. Bloody awful. Now I reckon this bike was stood for a long time, and I think it was stood for a long time in this country, not in the States. So we need to address this. This will all polish up, it'll all come out, we'll make it all nice and good. But that really made me think. I think it was stored, it wasn't ridden, and it got moisture in here, and that's what's caused this rust. But we'll deal with it, we'll deal with that. In the meantime, let's put you back on the pod. In the meantime, I'm going to say cheerio. It is getting cold, sun's going down, so the temperature's going down as well. And I'll be back probably in a couple of weeks' time with the preparation, as I said, of splitting the crankcase. So it's Gary at Gary's Practical Workshop. Ride safe if you're riding in this weather, because it is cold. Ride safe, drive safe, be careful, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.